We're holding at a Mishnah on Kuf Lamed Daled, Amud Aleph, towards the bottom of the page, right? 134. Okay, thank Hashem. We're able to learn Torah every day. In this course of our learning, we should have the Beis Hamikdash immediately. Learning the Nishmas of Golda Baruch Binyamin and Salas of Ben Tzion, and for Shlema for Ben Sarah, Dali Gatzel, Elias Ben Peg, and whoever else needs their for Shlema, the hostages. Okay, the Mishnah says like this: Ha'imar Zebni. Person says that this person over here is my son. The Neman, we trust him. The father, we trust to say that this is his son. We'll see what this is relevant to. You could give him a gift if you wanted to give him an inheritance, right? So we'll see in the Gemara. Ze achi, if he says this person's my brother, so then ein neman, then he's not going to be believed. Now, this is referring to a case where he has other brothers, and let's say Ruvain claims that that Levi is his brother, and Shimon says, "I don't know what you're talking about. We don't have another brother." Or maybe not. Maybe he just says, "I don't know." See in the Gemara as well what's Shimon saying. But whatever the case is, he's not believed. What happened now is that Ruvain says that he has a brother. Shimon says that he doesn't, or he doesn't know about it. So the father passed away and he left 3 fields. So each one of them should get 1.5. Ruvain and Shimon should get 1.5. But Ruvain says that he has a brother. So the 1.5 of Ruvain gets 1, and half he gives to his brother that he just claimed. And the other half is supposed to come from Shimon's half. But Shimon doesn't agree to that. So Shimon takes 1.5, and Ruvain just takes 1. Yeah. So it's Ruvain's that's being shared with the mace. What happens if this doubt, Levi, is a doubt if he's actual brother, if he passed away? So it goes back to Ruvain, right? It goes back to Ruvain because Ruvain said that this was his brother. He gave him part of his property because of that, so he gets it back. What happens if Levi gets an inheritance from somewhere else? Let's say his wife or something, wins the lottery, and then he passes away. So who gets the inheritance from Levi? I would like to say just Reuven, because he was the only nice one all along, saying that's his brother, but it turns out not like that. Yershu Achavimai, the brothers all inherit. It must be because he was claiming, Levi was claiming that they're his brothers. Yeah, if it's the father, go to the brothers. So, but why does it go to all the brothers? They didn't say that he's the brother. But because the other one, Levi, said he's the brother, so now it's like a gift to them. Right. Where there's a will, there's relatives.
Big money.
Okay, when the fighting starts. So, I'm skipping. The Zebni Naman. The Gemara says, in the Mishnah we learned that if someone says, this is my son, we trust him, my hilchasaf, what halach is this relevant to? So you can give him a gift if you wanted. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel, Yarshay v'lifter es ishtay minayibam. Very interesting. First of all, to inherit. Second of all, the wife doesn't have to do yibam now because he has a son. He's passing away. The wife is exempt from yibam. Mar says liyarshay, to inherit him, pshita. Of course, if he could give it as a gift, we said before, we learned this a bunch of times, migu, that he can give it as a gift, just as he can give it at migu means just as he can give it as a gift. So you can also say that he's my son, and he takes it as an inheritance. So the Rashbam says that's not a perfect answer because it's not a perfect question, actually. We're saying pshita. Because let's say we're talking about property that he doesn't have now, that he can't give it as a gift. But when he says he's my son, he's going to get that property. Rashbam says that actually the property that he doesn't have now, he doesn't get either. But what about all those Gemaras that he says, we said a father is able to say that this is my firstborn son? He says, yeah, that's regarding a firstborn. We know he's a son. We didn't know he's the firstborn. The father's believed to say he's the firstborn. But over here, where we didn't know he was a son, then he's not believed regarding property that he doesn't own now. He's only believed regarding property that he owns, which he's able to give it as a gift. Migu, he can give it as a gift. He can also give it by saying that he's the son, but not regarding property. So that whole Gemara before of when we said, what do I need Yaker for? If you, the Yaker, the pasuk of Yaker, that tells me that we believe the father when he says that this is his firstborn son. If he wanted, he can give it as a gift. We said, well, two options. Either it's property that he doesn't own now and it's coming later, or he's not able to speak because he's a goisis. He's on his deathbed and he can't talk. But regarding that, we could say that it's a firstborn and he would get it then. He would get it. The pasuk Yaker tells me that he gets it, even though we wouldn't be able to give it to him. So, but that's only regarding the firstborn. Yeah. Okay. If a person's believed to say that this is my firstborn son, but not necessarily is he believed to say this is my son. But once we know he's a son, he's able to say this is the firstborn. So Gemara says, "Lifter asishtim in ayibam etzrichalei." The reason for this halacha that a person's believed to say that this is my son is because he's trying to exempt his wife from yibam, and if he has a son, then his wife is exempted. The Gemara says, "I need our Mishnah to teach me that." Anami tanin, I have it in another Mishnah. If someone says at the time of his death, he says, "I have sons," so Naaman, he's believed. What does that mean? He's believed that the wife doesn't have to do yibam, doesn't have to marry the brother to keep the namesake of the father. Yeah, I have sons. If he says yesh li achim, I have brothers, now that's a problematic statement. It's the opposite type of statement. He says I have sons, he's freeing up his wife from yibam. He says I have brothers, he's making his wife do yibam, right? We thought maybe he didn't have brothers. So Einay Naaman, we don't trust him when he says I have brothers. Okay. So I have a Mishnah that says that a father is believed to say I have sons and therefore exempt his wife from yibam. So why do I need the Mishnah by us to say if he says I have a son, he's believed and to exempt his wife from yibam? I have another Mishnah that says that, but I need two Mishnayos to say the same thing. Mari answers Hassam in that Mishnah over there where we said that he's believed to say that he has sons and his wife is exempt. The loy muchzak lam ba'ach. Over there, that was such a simple case. But of course, he was believed. We thought like this. We didn't know that if he had sons, we didn't know if he had brothers. So it goes like this. No sons, she's chayiv in yibam. No brothers, she's exempt from yibam. So we thought she's exempt because if there's no brothers, we didn't know of any brothers, so she's exempt. We didn't know of any sons, but so what? There's no brothers, she's exempt. So her status right now is that she can marry anyone after he dies. She doesn't have to do yibum. Comes along the husband and says, I have sons. Okay, you didn't change her status. So to make him believe that she has sons, to believe him that he has sons, doesn't change any status. So that's easy. That's the easy Mishnah. But Hach over here, Alphagab the Muchzak Lambach, over here it's a different story. Over here we're thinking that that he has a brother. And we're changing her status. he has a brother, then we're saying that she's chayiv in yibum. Comes along the husband and says, "But I have a son." That's already a chiddush to go against the status quo, right? To go against what her status was, her chazaka, and to say that she's now exempt because she has a son. That's a chiddush. Yeah. Yibum, the point of Yibum is for the wife to marry the brother to upkeep the name of the deceased husband. If the husband already has a child, then there's no Yibum. Any marriage.
Please don't make us go through the box.
Any marriage. Husband has a child.
Oh, birth.
Just thinking, because it goes from the woman, she would know if she gave birth before this one.
Right. It doesn't matter which wife it is from.
All Yvonne's questions.
Okay, you follow what's happening here? The chiddush over here is that it's changing the status. That's what we're learning. Changing the chazaka. Amar Rav Yosef, Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Shmuel. Rav Yosef says in the name of his teacher Rav Yehuda, said in the name of his teacher Shmuel. Why, when someone says, "This is my son," he's believed. Hayol ubal Amar Garash Neman, because he's able to say that I divorced my wife. Now, when he says this is my son, he's believed. What he's really saying is that my wife does not need to do yibum after he passes away. Now he has another option, how to get her out of yibum. Well, he could say he doesn't have brothers if we don't know about that. But he has a simple option of saying that I divorced her. She's not my wife. Okay, divorced. No yibum in that case either. And to divorce, he's able to do. So why is he believed to say that he has a son? He says because Rabbi Yosef is saying in the name of Rabbi Yehuda, in the name of Shmuel, because he's able to say that I divorced her. Okay. So the Gemara says, actually, it's not just the Gemara that says this, it's Rabbi Yosef himself. Rabbi Yosef just made a statement. Rabbi Yosef forgot his learning. So when he would say statements, sometimes he would challenge them himself. Sometimes the buyer would challenge them. He'd say, that's not the way you said it last time. And here, Rabbi Yosef himself is, even though he forgot his learning, he forgot the learning, but he was still clear. His logic was still clear. So he asks on it, he says, Amar Rabbi Yosef, Marid Avram. He's asking on himself. He says, Master of Avram, that means Hashem. Tali Tanya B'dalei Tanya. Is it possible that was the statement? One of them is a clear Mishnah, that a person's believed to say, this is my son. The other one is a statement that a person's believed to say, I divorced my wife. It's a memra of Amiraim. So is it possible that the source of a Mishnah is in a memra of Amiraim? It should go the other way, right? How are we basing a Mishnah on a memra of Amiraim? We're saying, why is this Mishnah correct? Because of something that someone else said. Says, I don't need that. I have a Mishnah. The Mishnah says that rather, it should be said differently. If it was stated, it had to go like this. Amar Rab Yehuda, Amar Shmuel. This is Rab Yosef talking, so we don't have in there. Rab Yosef says in the name of Rab Yehuda, Amar Shmuel. It's just Rab Yosef is saying that Rab Yehuda says in the name of Shmuel. What was it that they said? Why is the person believed to say that this is my son? Not because he's believed to say that I divorced my wife, but because he can actually divorce his wife, which is a very logical statement. Now, it's a logical statement. If he's able to divorce her and free her up from Yibam, then he should also be believed to free her up from Yibam by another statement.
By logic.
This is a logical statement. In other words, this is an explanation for the Mishnah. It's not a source for the Mishnah.
Passed.
We're saying what he's able to do when he's on his deathbed to release her from having to marry his brother. Sometimes the brother was just born. So in order to do Yibam, she'd have to wait 13 years. Which is a big hassle. So he wants to free her up. Right? Sometimes the brother may be someone that is hard to deal with. could write again, and then she doesn't need to. Okay. So here he's saying, and he's not writing the get, but he could write the get. So we trust him to say that also he has a son. Now, no, I'm sorry. Because he could write the get. Okay. Now, based on that, Amar Rabbi Yosef hashta da amret amrinan hoyel. Rabbi Yosef extrapolates from that. We could say since he's able to divorce her, so now if based on that logic, now he can even say that he divorced her. He can say that he divorced her because he's able to divorce her. You could go ahead and do it. Okay. Kiyasar Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Yosef Amar Rabbi Yechanan. When Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Yosef came, usually we don't have Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Yosef doing this. We have usually Rav Dimi and Ravin, we have Ula, we have all those famous travelers. Anyway, Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Yosef came, and he said in the name of Rabbi Yechanan, said, Baal Shamar Gerashtis Ishti Einay Neman. If a man says that I divorced my wife, he's not believed. Now, the reason why he's not believed is because when a woman gets divorced, people talk about it. And there's a coil. And there's rumors that go around. She's divorced. Nevertheless. No, it's because the Shadchanim. The Shadchanim get excited when someone gets divorced. Now they have two new people to match up. They have two new clients. So what happened to the call? There's no call. So he has a migu that he's believed to say he divorced her. He has a migu that if he wanted, he could have divorced her. So he's believed to say that he did divorce her. Migu that he could divorce her right now. He's believed to say that he divorced her. Now, the only problem is that it's a migu b'makam edim. Now, there's witnesses that testify that she's not divorced. Now, there's really no witnesses that testify that she's not divorced, but because there should be a coil, there should be rumors that says that she's divorced, and we don't have those rumors. So when you're giving me the strength of a migu, but I have the strength of edim against that migu, and there's a problem with the migu b'makam edim; it loses its strength. That's what Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Yosef is saying in the name of Rabbi Yechanan. So what just happened now is that Rabbi Yosef said that a man's believed to say that he divorced his wife. Comes along Rabbi Yechanan and says a man is not believed to divorce his wife. So Menapeach Rav Sheshes biyadi, Rav Sheshes goes like this, like I think he like blows away or something, or maybe went with his hand to show that there goes Azalei Hayel de Rabbi Yosef. Rabbi Yosef's Hayel just disappeared. We just lost Rabbi Yosef's Hayel. Rabbi Yosef was saying that since a person is trusted since a person can divorce his wife, he's also just to say that he did divorce his wife. Rabbi Yechanan just knocked that off. Now, the statement that Shmuel made, Rabbi Yehuda, in the name of Shmuel, that a man's believed to say that this is my son, based on the fact that he could free up his wife by divorcing her, that still exists. That was not against Adam. There's no rumors that say that he has a son somewhere, he doesn't have a son somewhere. No one knows if he had a son somewhere. He went traveling somewhere, he had a son, and he comes back home, no one knows about it. There's no rumors, no people don't talk about it. But if he was divorced, that would be rumors. So to say that he
adopted a son,
this is a family share.
I'm so confused.
Gone with the wind, right?
So confused.
Okay, Naftali, you wanted to say something?
No, I'm just trying to work it out in my own head. If someone makes a loan, there's an IOU and it's signed by two witnesses, it has a call. All right. And
Okay.
a divorce is similar in that it's a document, it's signed by two witnesses. So it automatically has a call.
Right.
So I'm trying to figure out what the situation is here. How do we get to this situation? I'm trying to understand. Let's assume he's telling the truth, that there was a divorce.
Right.
He doesn't have the document, or she doesn't have a document. Nobody's got the document to prove it. Okay, and there's nobody. Maybe they were in another country. You know,
Right.
you can't call anybody. I'm just trying to figure out the circumstances under which this occurs.
Like where is the get? What you're asking, where is the get? Why is there no get here if he just divorced her?
Where is the get? And once it's signed by two witnesses, that's the call. At least that's the way we poskin with respect to, property
Right.
and IOU.
Yeah, the situation is where he's not in his regular location.
Yeah,
He was
has
done
to be.
he's dying. They airlifted him to somewhere, and and it's this new place. He tells to the doctors over there. He says, "I divorced my wife." There's no one there. There's no one. The wife
Okay.
is 12 years old, by the way.
Excuse me?
The wife is 12 years old, by the way, so she doesn't know much about the saving documents and. Okay.
Is this the daf that gets into the question about whether he's trying to save her from Misa?
Well, yeah, that's coming up in a moment.
Okay.
So the Gemara says, Aini, is that really so? That a person can't say that I divorced my wife? Amar Rabbi Chia bar Ravan, Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Chia bar Ravan says in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, Baal Shem Migrashti Asishti Neman, that a man is believed to say that I divorced my wife. I have Rabbi Yitzchak bar Yosef saying that a man is not believed. Rabbi Chia bar Ravan saying, both in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, that a man is yes believed. The Gemara says, well, Leikasha, that's not such a problem, because kan lemafreya kan laba. It depends what he's trying to do over here. If he's trying to say that I divorced my wife a month ago, or if he's trying to say I divorced my wife right now. If he wants to say I divorced my wife a month ago, then it's possible he's trying to free up his wife from who committed adultery from getting the death penalty. And he's saying that, what do you mean? I divorced her. And she committed adultery 15 days ago, 2 weeks ago. And he says, I divorced her a month ago. That would free her up. She won't get the death penalty. So that he's not believed because he doesn't have the ability right now to divorce her a month ago. But if he wants to say that from now on she's divorced, right now he can give her a divorce if he wanted to. So he's trusted to say, this is a simple answer on a contradiction. Of a contradiction, he's believed and he's not believed. So he's believed for the future. He's not believed for the past. If he says I divorced her now or today or something, then he's believed. If he says I divorced her a month ago, he's not believed. They have a question. Can we divide up his statement? We don't believe him for the past, but let's believe him for the future. Let's say he claims I divorced her a month ago. So, okay, we can't believe her. We can't believe him that she was divorced the past month, but can we believe him that she's divorced from now on? In the same statement. Do we trash the whole statement because he wasn't able to say that? Or do we say that let's divide it in half? The part that says that it was last month, we don't believe. The part that says that she's divorced, that we'll trust from now on. It's called Palgin and Dibura. Can we divide up a statement? So it says like this, Rav Mari Rav Zvid. It's Machlekes Rav Mari and Rav Zvid. One says that we can divide a statement, and one says that we cannot divide the statement. Umar says, Rava. Rava said that we do divide the statements. Damar Rava, Ish Plani Baal Ishti. If a person says that so and so I committed adultery with my wife, so do we trust him together with another witness to say this, to testify because he's biased? He can't testify against his wife. Can testify against the other guy, but his wife is part of this scene, part of this testimony. So huva acher mistarfin lahar guy. This husband, together with another witness, is trusted to have this person killed, right? The death penalty for adultery, and it says lahar guy v'lay lahar ga, to kill him, but not to kill her, not to kill the wife. He's not trusted against his own wife. He's related to her. Can't testify against his wife, but he can testify against the other person. So what that means is that we just divided up this statement into two parts. So-and-so committed adultery. That we're trusting. With my wife, we're not trusting. Yeah. So he's not trusted with the wife.
Still, his wife is involved.
Right? But nevertheless, we have a statement from Rava that we trust him regarding the other person. The Gemara says, betray Gufi Palginan. This is an answer. This is only because it's two separate people. We say we trust him regarding this one, but we don't trust him regarding her. The Chad Gufa, but about his own wife, to say that he divorced her a month ago and not trust the month ago, but only trust from now on, that's Leipalginan. Maybe that we don't divide up. Maybe that's all one statement. There's a big difference between if it's two separate people involved versus if it's one state, if it's a statement about the same person.
His wife is still a part of
Okay.
whether they accept it for the that's not against the other man. But the other man didn't do it at all.
So he's not. We don't. We trust it. We trust the story that took place, but it's not strong enough to do anything to her. Yeah.
So if it was strong enough to do something to him, who was the partner in the crime?
Yeah. Hill is asking. So who was the partner in the crime? If we're ready to kill him, so who was the partner in the crime? How do we kill him without having the other partner? Yeah, that's a good question. What do they say in the notes? Do they explain it? Okay. Gemara says like this: Who the have kashachiv was a person that was dying. Amrulay, they said to him, Itze Laman, what's going to be with your wife? Is she allowed to get married or does she have to do yibam? I want him to say what's the story. Amr Lahu, he says to them, Chazi Lakuna Rabba. She can marry a Kayan Gadol. Now, she can't marry a Kayan Gadol. A Kayan Gadol has to marry a Psula. She can't even marry a Kayan because if what he's really saying now is that I divorced her already, so there's no problem of yibam. That's the question was, does she have to do yibam or not? He said, oh, she's fit to marry a Kayan. What he means to say is that she has no problem marrying anyone from the marketplace because she's not married to me, and there's no restriction on her regarding yibam. Well, what just happened was he just told us that he divorced her. Well, Amar Rava, my nechashla. What is the concern over here? Why should we say that we don't trust him and she has to do yibam? Amar Rab Chia Barabba, Amar Rab Yechanan. Rab Chia Barabba says, name Rab Yechanan. Baal Shem Grash Tisish Tinaman. No problem. Basically, he just told us that he divorced her. It's all good. Well, Amalei Abaya says, yeah, but that's only one statement. But yes, Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Yosef Am Rabbi Yechanan Baal Shem Grash Tisish Tinaman. He said that he's not believed. You're telling me only half the story. There was another part of the story. Well, Amalei, Rava says to Abaya, there was a big difference between those two statements. One of them was talking about the past. If we believe him to say that I divorced her a month ago, and that was Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Yosef, which we said we don't believe. Here he's saying I divorced her today, so we believe him. The Gemara says, or Abaya is saying, you want to just rely on that answer? That's good enough to paskana halacha. You had a contradiction. So you gave an answer, but that answer is like solid. Maybe there's another answer. Maybe it's a machlekes. And if it's a machlekes, trei amirai, two amirai, according to Rabbi Yechanan, maybe we have to figure out which one we're going to follow. We have to find out which one was said later, or something like that. Just because you gave one possible answer doesn't mean that that's the whole answer. That's Who told us that answer? Well, you had a question. But the question doesn't compel that the answer is true, because I can have another answer that I can answer that maybe that, and then that answer is not valid. Okay. Amalei Raval or Rav Nassan Barami. Rav Nassan says to Rav Nassan Barami, Chushla Bayim is correct. You have to suspect that maybe that answer is not accurate, and maybe we don't trust the husband to say that he divorced his wife, so she would have to do yivam. That's one way of learning this Gemara. Okay. There was a person that we assumed what everyone thought in the city was that he doesn't have any brothers. It was an only child, or maybe he had brothers, but they passed away. And he says on his deathbed, that he doesn't have any brothers. Okay, so all good. We didn't think he had brothers either. Well, Amar Rabbi Yosef says, what are you worried about? First of all, even if he didn't say anything, we're talking about, can the wife get married to anyone? Even if he didn't say anything, first of all, we didn't think he had any brothers. The whole city thinks that he doesn't have brothers. And also, he also said that he doesn't have. Abaya says, but there are people that are saying that there are witnesses in some faraway country that this fellow does have a brother. We don't have the witnesses here, but there's a rumor in the city that people in a faraway country know that there's a brother. It means the father went over there and had another child. So Hashtami, the Gemara says, this must be Rabbi Yosef. David says, Hashtami lasnu kaman. But right now they're not here. So that's good. We don't have to worry about witnesses that aren't here. If they were here, we would have to worry about them. But they're not here. So look, what we don't know, doesn't hurt, right? So we don't have the witnesses here. So Hainu de Rabbi Chanina, this is exactly what Rabbi Chanina said. Rabbi Chanina edim b'tzarastan b'tiyaser. This was the story with with Shmuel, I think, with Shmuel's daughters. What happened was Shmuel's daughters were taken captive, and they were brought to the land of Israel. And they came into the Besdin of Rabbi Chanina, and they said that I was taken captive, but I'm pure. They had the captive wait outside, so they shouldn't. It should be they're the ones that said that I was captive, and they're the ones that said that I'm pure.
No one else, no talking.
And Rabbi Chanina allowed them to get married. The Kayanim. We said, but there are some witnesses in other places that know about it. Chanina said, but I don't have to worry about witnesses in other places. The witnesses aren't here. Astan means the north. The witnesses in the north. So Amalei Abaya says that you're making a comparison here that's not accurate, because you're comparing the case of someone that has a brother overseas and this woman that was married and now the husband's dying, and you want to free her up from the marriage, that she doesn't have to do yibum, and that she should be able to marry anyone because of those witnesses aren't here. The witnesses regarding the brother aren't here. You're comparing that to a case of a woman that was taken captive. Now, if she was intimate with if she had relations with the captors, so then we would say that she can't marry a Kohen. And we said we have witnesses to that, but they're not here. Witnesses that she had relations with the captive. So we're saying, but the witnesses aren't here, so we can let. See, Abaya says, 1 second, you can't make this comparison. It says, if we're lenient about a captive, because they make themselves a captive makes herself look disgusting in front of the captor in order to avoid having relations with him. She doesn't dress up. she tries to do everything to avoid having relations with the captor. So Nekel Beishis is, that's going to tell me anything logically about this person that has a brother overseas. I mean, it says Eishes Ish, it's a little misleading. Eishes Ish means a married woman. We're not discussing if she's a married woman. She was married. The husband saying that he has a brother. The husband is saying that he doesn't have a brother. Only thing is that we had a rumor that there's witnesses somewhere. So it's not really a concern of Eishes Ish. It's really a concern of getting married. It's really a law that she's not allowed to marry outside when she has a brother when the husband has a brother that she's supposed to be marrying. So it's a law, not Eishes Ish. But what it means is that since she was married to this man who now has a brother, based on the marriage, based on that. So we're gonna do this comparison, and we're gonna allow her to get married to anyone, even though we have this rumor that there's witnesses. You have to suspect to that what Abaye is saying has a point. She has to do chalitza, or can she do yibam? Can she do yibam? Would she be allowed to do yibam? You know what I'm asking? There's a claim that it's not a brother. She may not remarry until the rumor has been discredited or until the alleged brother performs chalitza with her. What about yibam? Can the alleged brother do yibam? Why not? If he's a brother, then it's correct. If he's not a brother, then there's no problem. She was allowed to marry him anyway. Okay. Why does it only give the option of chalitza? I guess because the chalitza would be the other one. You have to get into. Maybe it's not a yibam. The chalitza is a real act. Whatever it is, it's a chalitza. Chalitza misafik, but it's a chalitza. The yibam is maybe a regular marriage, or maybe a yibam marriage. Okay. If a person says, we're going back to discuss another statement in the Mishnah. If a person says, this is my brother, he's not believed regarding the other brothers that they have to share the inheritance with this. We said it was Reuben and Shimon. Reuben says, this is my brother. Levi is my brother. And Shimon doesn't say that. The Gemara asks, V'idach my kamri, what is Shimon saying? What are the other brothers saying? If they're saying that, yeah, you're right, Reuven, this is our brother, very good. Thanks for introducing us. So why do they only why does Levi only split the portion of Reuven? Why does he split the portion with Shimon? Shimon agrees that it's a brother. It must be that they're saying he's not our brother. Shimon agrees that it's not the brother. And not agrees. He contests. He says that it's not a brother. If that's the case, let's read further in the Mishnah. Let's say Levi ends up with the big inheritance. Now everyone shows up and says, oh yeah, maybe he is my brother. So shows up with the big inheritance. And so it says, all the brothers then come to inherit. How could they inherit? They already said that he's not the brother. Can't show up now. They admitted that they don't have any rights to any of his property. They said he's not the brother. Reuven could take it all. If they said clearly that it's not the brother. Gemara says, like Tzricha de Kamri, Einanu Yoidim. They had the perfect answer. They said, we don't know. Don't know. So if you want to prove it, if you prove that you're the brother, then we'll give you a portion. But until you prove it, we're not giving anything. And we'll also be willing to take a portion. We never denied it. We'll take a portion of his inheritance. Rava says, this is very interesting. So I say meres. From this case, we can learn mandali biyadcha. If a person says you owe me money, another one says I don't know, he's pater. He's exempt from paying. Now, what we're seeing is that the Reuven is saying that telling Shimon that you owe money to Levi, and Shimon says I don't know, seeing that he doesn't have to pay it. Now, this was a major machlekes. If someone says you owe me money, and the other one says I don't know, we call it a bari v'shema. Bari, Reuben says you owe me money. Shimon says I don't know. He said bari v'shema bari adif. You don't know, I do know. So the one that knows wins. That was one opinion. It was a major machlekes. The other opinion said that no, we don't have proof, and he doesn't know. You can't extract it. What you would need to do is you'd have to make a shvuas esses. If you want to prove that, anyway, he doesn't have to pay unless you make a shvuas esses. No, the opposite. The opposite. The one that's pater, the one that's exempt, the one that's denying it, not denying it, the one that's saying I don't know, he makes a shvuas esses that he doesn't know, and then he's exempt. But basically, he's exempt. So there are two opinions here. Now, what we're seeing from our Mishnah is that he's pater, following the opinion that he's exempt, right? Because Reuven's saying Shimon owes money to Levi, and saying in a definite way Shimon owes money, and Shimon's saying I don't know, and he doesn't have to pay it. Abaya says it's not a strong proof because really I can say that if someone comes to someone else and says you owe me money, and the person says I don't know, he has to pay because bari v'shema bari adif. But over here, the kamanal acher biyad chadami. Over here, it's saying that so Reuven comes to Shimon and says, "You owe Levi money, not you owe me money." So Shimon says, "Well, I don't know who you are. You're not my litigant. So I'm not. I have nothing to answer you. I don't even have to answer you. You have nothing to do with this." So that if that's the case, so over here he's pater because there was no claim by the person that has the claim wasn't making a claim. It's only a third party that's making a claim. It's called, you can say lav bal devarim didiyat. You're not my litigant, right? Okay. The Gemara now says meis yachzir nechaslan kaiman. Let me take this out. I think. What happened is that it goes back. If Levi passes away, then it goes back to Reuven, the property that Levi got, which was, we said that there were three properties, right? Reuven takes one, Shimon takes one, and Shimon takes half of the other one that he refuses to give to Levi because he doesn't know that he's a brother. So Levi ends up only getting one half, which came from Reuven's part. So really should have divided, each one should get 1.5. But it turns out Reuven only gets one and Levi gets half. What happens when Levi dies and Reuven's still alive and Shimon's alive? It goes back to Reuven. He gets his half back. Now, the explanation for this is
You mean even if he has heirs, it goes back?
no, we're talking about without heirs. I was reading this in the Rashbam, and reading it down here. Yeah, reading it in the first Rashbam. Reuven, on the Mishnah, the Rashbam explained it like this. He says, Reuven tells Shimon, you took a property, you took half the property, but you basically stole from Levi, because he's really our brother, and you're stealing property from him. So now Levi passed away. So Reuben tells to Shimon, who now wants to get part of the inheritance, he says, look, there was a property that you already stole from him. That you keep as your inheritance of Levi. And I'm going to take the other inheritance because we'll split it like this. Why do I have to take your inheritance and you take mine? No, I'm going to take the part that I ended up giving him. And you keep the part that you stole. Yeah. In other words, they already divided, according to Reuven, Shimon already took his inheritance already before when the father passed away. Okay, that's how the Rashbam explains it back on the Mishnah. What are we holding now? So the Boy Rav asks a question. What's going to be if the property was improved? Can they both now divide up that property? Divide up the improvements. So if it's considered produce, now there's two ways of translating this in the Rishonim. According to the Rashbam, is if it's something that Levi worked for, he put in effort. It wasn't just naturally coming into the property. It wasn't just the property growing and it like increases naturally. Something that he put in effort to. So Leiti Bayalach, that's not a question. That's considered outside inheritance, which now gets divided up between everyone. Remember, we said that if Levi gets an inheritance, so they're going to split it up.
Right.
So this is considered like an inheritance that came from the outside. Levi did improvements on the property, so they split it up. Now the other Rishonim learned Shvacha Megiel Ksafim means that the produce is so ready to be harvested that it's ready to be placed on the shoulder. Megiel Ksafim. If it's considered like detached from the field, then it's considered that it came from the outside. That's the other way of learning this. Kiti Bailach, where's the question? It's talking about something that Levi put in no work for. It just came naturally. So Kigoin Dikla Ba'alim, for example, it was a palm tree that got thicker, got stronger. Arav Aska Sirtain, or it's land that now got silt or the fertilizer. It got fertilized because the river overflowed and washed up all of the fish meal onto the. So that was something that Levi was not involved in, and that could be just the improvement of the property on its own. Maybe this should all go to Reuven, or maybe this improvement is considered like other property that came from the outside, and Shimon should get a portion of it. So the Gemara answers. The Gemara asks, "My?" Gemara says, "Teku." That we don't have an answer for. Okay, let's leave it over here.
Oh.
Anyone else going to the Hayel for Shabbos?